Be bold. Be heard. Welcome to Unmute Your Mic with your host, Jessica Bell. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Unmute Your Mic.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. My name is Jessica Bell. I am your host from Kansas City, Missouri, as always. And before we get started, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're returning, thank you for being a part of the Unmute Your Mic family. Please make sure to go to unmuteyourmic.org. There you can like, subscribe, and follow on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and anywhere else that you can find a podcast. I'm super excited for the guests that we have today. I love meeting new people. I love when people answer my creepy DMs in their Instagram. When I just find somebody who's super interesting, who I would love to just talk a little bit more and have them kind of unmute their mic about some of the things that they are doing in the community. So Sharidan, thank you so much for agreeing to be on my podcast. If you could just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me. I always feel honored when someone invites me to share my expertise. So I'm Sharidan McCorkle, and I'm with Sharidan McCorkle and Associates of Compass Realty Group. I've been a licensed real estate agent since 2015. I'm licensed in Kansas and Missouri, and also I'm a broker. I recently started focusing on luxury properties and basically helping people to grow generational wealth. I started focusing on first-time home buyers and still offer free education to them, and also, just do my best to serve the underserved when it comes to learning about real estate and how you can use it as a tool for generational wealth.
And so what made you get started in this field?
I have always had an interest in real estate. I do eventually want to be an investor myself. I just think and know that real estate is one of the top tools in which someone can become wealthy. I won't even say almost. All the billionaires and millionaires we know, yes, they may have a niche with something, but they are wealthy due to real estate. You can relate it to real estate in some way. When I was a young girl, my mom was a realtor for a short period of time. And I remember taking the practice test with her on the computer. And I was like, oh, this is easy. So I always knew in some way, even if it wasn't my main career field, that I would be involved in real estate.
I love that. And I love you just even sharing the story about, something that your mom did, because I think so often we don't realize that children really do watch us, and you're kind of watching what your parents do. And so I love that you mentioned generational wealth, right? Because so often we can find ourselves or our families kind of just get stuck in this rut where nobody really is financially stable. And so using home ownership, how is that a way? How can people say, hey, I would like to own a home, to start trying to really change the course of what their family looks like?
Yes. So I think the first thing is to start with education. I think just like how we talk about people should learn about credit in high school, learn how to write a check, how to do all these things. I think home buying should be one of those things as well. I know that I've gone into a couple of middle schools and just introduced the concept to young people. And I also think that we need to get out of that mindset that you buy a home at a certain age. I think you should start as soon as possible, because that's how you build that equity over time. So definitely start with education, learn, dive in, go down the rabbit hole, figure out what buying real estate means for you. One of the things that I'm encouraging people to do is to start with the multifamily unit. I think you should start with the fourplex, start with the triplex or a duplex, because then you can house hack the property. And even if it's not your forever home, which I don't even believe in that term, honestly. But even if it's not where you plan to be for a long time, You can live in it 1 year, put renters in the other side, and then after a year, go out and go buy your forever home. And now you have 4 units, 4 different incomes paying for your life. And then they're paying the mortgage on that property. So you're building equity on that property, and then whatever home you buy to live in forever or for a long time.
That's good. And this is why I love having conversations like this, because I don't think this is how the average person just thinks when it comes time to purchase. I know, I've been told, like, well, make sure you buy a home somewhere you want to live forever, because it makes it seem like it's such this permanent, lifelong decision. And that, like, once you purchase this home, you're stuck and you'll be paying on it for 50 years. And so I think that's kind of just been something that's been passed on from like generation to generation, or like you said, purchasing a home where it's like, wait till you're in your 40s, or wait till you're settled down and
wait till you're married, wait till you have a family. And that line of thinking is so like old school. And I get it. I think we get it. We get where it comes from. Whatever your background may be, whatever your culture may be, traditionally, that's how it was. But that just does not match how we live now. You know what I mean? And I just think the good thing about being in this generation, even if maybe everyone hasn't been taught, sometimes I am working with a client in their 60s buying their first home. And maybe not many other people in their family have ever owned. And that excites me because they are more excited than anyone. And even I'm able to train to not think like, okay, this is a forever home. Like, I don't like that term anymore. We need to do away with that term. We need to focus on investments. So this is my first home that I'm sitting in, but it fits my lifestyle right now. I don't see it changing anytime soon. However, I'm open to growing my portfolio so that one day, if I have a family, I have this nest egg too. Maybe I can pass it to someone else. But when I move to another property, this will also be a property I have, and it will be income producing. So something people need to look at when they are searching for a first home or the home that they are going to own or occupy, still keep in mind, hey, this is an investment. And I need to look at it like that. Yes, this is where I'm going to make memories. It might be special to me. It may be emotional. However, this is still a tool.
That's good. And I love how you shared also about, like, it may fit a certain season right now, but it doesn't mean that, like, when your life changes or if your life changes, that you can't say, okay, now I'm going to go get another place, and this place can be used, whether you pass it down or something like that. So what are some things that you could tell people who are listening, who are kind of like afraid of like that commitment of purchasing something?
Well, I'm going to reverse a little bit, and I'm going to say, when I first my career was taking off, I started, trying to go after a buyer like me. I'm a single woman. I'm career driven. And, statistically, more women own homes, even if they're married. They are technically the one that qualify for the property if you look at the numbers. And so I started really focusing on women and trying to develop the mindset of, you don't have to be married to buy a house. You don't have to be married to take care of a home. As a realtor, the thing I take pride in with my buyers is setting them up for a win when it comes to purchasing their home, man or woman. And I really want them to know that even if things pop up with the house, we have systems in place that are going to help you to take care of it going forward. So basically, I want to encourage people that, whatever things you believe about home buying, get those out of your head. Let's start from the beginning. And like I said, I love to encourage women to just not be afraid to own a home on your own. Even if it means that, and a lot of people don't know this, you can buy apartments. I'm talking about a single unit. You can buy 1 or 2 bedroom apartment where you do have an HOA fee per month. However, even with your mortgage and an HOA fee, it's still probably less than what people are renting it for. Other landlords that are renting it out to them. And, it could be whatever. It could be the 4-bedroom home. It could be the 1-bedroom home. It could be the condo, the townhome, whatever it may be.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
That's okay.
So as a single woman, say, I'm like, okay, I would like to, purchase something. But I don't have a ton of money. Or I've kind of been fed that this is a thing that married couples do. What would be the first step as a single woman that I would do to purchase even that 1-bedroom apartment? Because like you said, that's not something I've heard of. I always envision like a 5-bedroom house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just the biggest thing. So how do you even go about finding the 1-bedroom apartment that maybe you can purchase?
Yeah. So honestly, married or single, I'm gonna repeat it over and over again because it's just so important. You have to get that education. And honestly, the education is not hard. Like, I developed a free class that's 1 hour. I go over how to get qualified, who you can get qualified through, what happens after you are pre-approved, what happens during the process once you're under contract up until closing. And it works the same way whether you're buying a 5-bedroom home or a 1-bedroom apartment. If you're buying $1 million property or a $20,000 property, we're using the same contract. Okay. So get that education on what you're about to enter into. The first step would be to get pre-approved if you're not buying a home cash. So like I said, whether it's a single woman, a married couple, heck, brothers and sisters, multiple cousins, whoever wants to go on the loan together that qualifies, you need to get pre-approved through a lender for a mortgage. So that would be the first step. After that, you would meet with someone like myself, a realtor, and then you would have your buyer's consultation. And if someone is working with a realtor and they have not had a buyer's consultation, that's a huge red flag. And just depending on what your relationship is with that realtor, the conversations you had, you probably really need to have a buyer's consultation. And that's so that you and the realtor can be on the same page about what it is that you're looking for a home, setting expectations, learning about the market. And so that's one of the things that's very important is, yes, okay, in your example, the single buyer, maybe you don't have a lot of cash or something. Well, we need to talk about in a consultation, if you're, let's say at that point, you're not pre-approved or whatever, what the market is doing. So a few years ago, I was a big advocate for using down payment assistance. Now I'm not. And you'd be surprised. Now, because of the climate of the market, and again, this is important why you should have a buyer's consultation so that your realtor can clue you in and educate you on the market. In our current market, it is so competitive that this is a market where, and it's not impossible to buy a home with down payment assistance. I have tons of buyers that do it. But this is a market where you need a lot of cash. This is a market where you're competing against people who are willing to pay extra money on top of the sales price if the home doesn't appraise for the price they agreed to buy it for. So if you're someone who you already need assistance with just the regular entry to the home, you may not be able to compete with that. Now, that's not to scare anyone. You can absolutely still buy a home with down payment assistance and be successful. I do it every day. However, it is not as easy, and your journey will take a little bit longer than what it would have 2 years ago.
And I love that you're really kind of showing that there's more than one way to do it,
Yes.
Because I do think I've heard so many people say like, oh, it's so hard to buy a house right now, or, it's so competitive. So you explaining that a little bit more, it does make sense. Because I do know also, that people were saying like, oh, somebody would offer, $20,000 more than what the house was worth because they want the house.
Yes.
And so I do love that you are kind of shining a light on the different ways and different routes we can go. But I want to touch on something else that you said about the red flag. A lot of us, when we are looking to purchase a home, even myself included, we don't know what realtor to use. It seems like everybody's a realtor these days. And so how do you, and which is one of the reasons why I reached out to you, because you're somebody who I've seen has been doing it, and consistently, and you offer the free programs and that kind of stuff. So what are some of the things that people should look for when they're saying, okay, I would like to purchase a house, but I have no idea who the heck to go to?
Yes. So, this again, I always have the unpopular opinion on stuff. I don't think you should only go with the realtor that has the experience. I know some amazing realtors that are only in their first and second year, killing it, selling circles around people who've been licensed 20, 30 years. Okay. I think you need to go with the realtor that is going to work for you. So I'm a huge fan of your vibe attracts your tribe. Personally, as a realtor, as someone who is self-employed, and I win when you win, meaning I get paid when you buy a home, it does me no good to pick a client that we're not vibing well, because this is a difficult process. So it's the same with you as a buyer. Sometimes you get referred to a realtor because your aunt used them or this or that, and that's totally fine. But your vibe attracts your tribe. And I would say go with the realtor that you have good communication with, that you are learning from, that seems to care about your well-being, that can provide you value and education. We don't know everything. There's things I'm literally learning every day. I've been licensed since 2015. I'm a tenured agent. I've been in a buyer's market, and not a lot of realtors can say that, because like you said, there's a ton of realtors right now. It seems like real estate is a trend. That is so true. But here's the thing. Not every realtor has ever been in a buyer's market. And so I can say I've been in a buyer's market and a seller's market. But pick the realtor that is going to fight for you, that you feel comfortable with, even if it's not your forever home. This is still an important investment. And so, no, they may not know everything, but how do they respond when they don't know something? Do they say, you know what? That's a great question. I'm going to follow up with you. I'm going to get with my broker. I'm going to get you to this lender. I'm going to get you with this inspector. We'll ask that question. Or do they just say, I'm not sure, we have those moments. But I would say, just like, my favorite thing is Instagram. You can follow people for a while and get a feel for, it's a lot of people faking it till they make it. But did you pick up on something they put out? And go with your gut. In real estate, go with your gut. That's how I feel. You can think with your mind. I love my type A people. They always want to do the numbers, do this. And I finally be having to pull them to the side, because I'm very much a gut person. And I have to be like, look, do you like this house? I know the numbers say this, but do you like this house? And, I would just say go with who fits and where you see the value as a buyer. And don't be afraid to fire a realtor.
No, that's real, because like you said, it's a very important decision, and you don't want to feel like you just kind of stuck with somebody because you told them you would use them, and if it's just not working, then that does more harm than good. So what do you think are some of the common myths that people have about purchasing a home?
Oh, I love this. This is where I light up, because I love the buyer education. Some of the common myths. I have to be in a certain place to buy a home. Like, I have to have X amount of dollars in the bank, even. And that is multi-leveled. So I have to have 20% to buy a home. That's one of the worst and biggest myths when it comes to buying a home. People believe they have to have 20% down. That myth comes into practice because until 20% of the home is paid for, whether it's over time or upfront, you will have to carry what's called private mortgage insurance from the lender which is an extra amount on your mortgage payment per month until that amount is paid down. Okay. So you don't need 20%. Most buyers
never. I just have to stop you right there because that is the biggest thing. Is everyone's like, I don't have I don't have 20% on that house. Like that's
you don't.
Like if you don't have 20%, don't even go house shopping. Like don't look at everything. That's crazy.
Well, and then like I said, that's one of those myths that are my favorite myths to bust, because most people are coming in with 3 or 3.5% down. So to make numbers easy, if you're buying $100,000 home, not many of those that are moving ready in 2022. I'm just being honest. A couple years ago, yeah, but that's $3,000, $3,500 of just down payment. So another myth is that you'll get family members that bought houses. You could even say just 5 years ago now, and they will explain to buyers, oh, the seller will pay your closing cost. That's not true. And here's the other thing. A lot of buyers don't know you have closing costs, and they are indeed your costs. They are not the seller's cost. A few years ago, when a seller had a home on the market for 120 days, you betcha they were willing to pay the buyer's closing costs, but not in the market where they're getting $50,000 over ask price offers before the home hits the market. They will not even consider an offer that's asking for closing costs. So again, back to that education, learn what closing costs are. A lot of buyers get a little frustrated, and I get it, because they want an exact amount of what closing costs will be, but there's no way to know that. It can only be estimated. Because let me give you some examples of what closing costs is consistent of. It's consisted of title company fees, lender fees, if you have realtor fees, which usually are like just a couple $100, your prepaid insurance. So you have to go ahead and pay up front your premium for insurance for that home for that year. If an HOA fee has to be paid, your taxes and things like that. That's what the closing cost is consistent of. We don't know what insurance provider you're going to pick when we first start searching for you a home. So your lender is only going to be able to estimate an amount that you will need to bring to closing. So let's say you're buying a $200,000 home. So that's about $8,000 in down payment. And that's about another $6,000 to $7,000 in closing costs. And this is why, if you are going to use down payment assistance, it can be helpful if you need it, if you don't already have both of those things saved up. Something else that I think buyers should also be more open to is being willing to tap into their 401k to purchase a home. If you don't have that type of cash on hand, you're technically just moving the equity. So I feel like, because this is an investment, it's not a trip to Jamaica, borrow your 401k to buy the house. You're just moving it. And honestly, by putting it into a home, depending on what the market is doing, let me give that disclaimer, that may make you way more money than what you would have just had in the 401k, maybe if it's just a little bit at that time. I'm not telling you to borrow the whole thing, but don't be afraid to borrow a couple $1,000. Something else borrowers don't realize that they can do is have gift money. So I don't know, what type of things I can and can't say on here, but culturally, some cultures, family-wise, are more into gift giving when it comes to buying a home than others. And that's okay. But again, I'm here to educate. That needs to be something that maybe, as far as creating generational wealth in families consider. Putting money aside, going to college isn't as popular as it used to be. Instead of maybe putting money aside for college, in some cases, having that extra savings account that helps someone to buy a home. A couple $1,000 goes a long way when you have to come up with 15. Okay? So those are just a couple of things that I think are important.
And you touched on so many different ones. Some I had heard of, some I had not. But I think it's really important because so often we're scared to even try because of the things that we've already heard. Thinking that we need more money down, thinking that oh, you want to know exactly how much it's going to be. So how much is the closing? How much is this going to be? And like you said, if we don't even know where we're moving yet or what, like, how can you guys come up with all of those numbers?
Yeah. And this is something that's crazy. My next door neighbor, so I own a townhome, our walls touch. Their taxes can be different from mine.
Wow.
You cannot go by, oh, well, my next door neighbors is this much. It's so weird, but there are so many different things that affect that. And so, unfortunately, again, that's why your closing cost is just the estimate.
And what I'm hearing you say, too, is that so much of it is education. So it's not so much that people should be afraid to purchase a home because it's just going to be so much, but you do need to be educated on what the process is going to look like so that you don't go in thinking it's one thing and then you get frustrated when you maybe don't get the first home that you wanted or whatever it is.
Or at least you just know. So I tell buyers, okay, when you come to me, we have laid the foundation for this is the process, at least what it should look like. You're a different buyer from that person. That person's buying a different house from a different seller than what you're going to buy it from. They're using a different lender. They're buying at a different time. There's so many different factors. But on top of that, you just have to remember that your journey is your journey. And once you start searching for the home, that's a learning curve too. And so I will prepare my buyers in the buyer's consultation. Okay, I taught you what you're about to get into, but once we start searching for the home itself, that's a learning curve. And I'll tell them, I cannot give you every single thing when you are first coming to me because I'm not going to information overload you to the point where now you just don't want to move. So some things I have to let my buyers bump their head on. I tell them in our consultation, I will advise you until I'm blue in the face. I know this market. I know home values. But at the end of the day, legally, what you want to go on the paper is what goes on the paper. So, for example, when we start going out and looking at homes, a lot of buyers want to shop top of their budget. We can't do that in this market. So, unfortunately, they may have to get their feelings hurt with a couple of offers before they understand, okay, she is the professional. I do need to probably listen to what she's advising. And it's okay. It's a learning curve. I cannot just be like, you got to offer $30K to get this house. I can, and I do, but they won't get it yet until they get physically out there and start seeing these homes.
Yeah, that's good. And like we said, it's almost in anything. You kind of let the people be like, all right, well, I'm gonna let you do this. And then afterwards you can come back to me and then we can kind of do what I suggested.
Yeah. And that's okay. I know how it's gonna go. In this market, I'll get buyers. They want to stick at a certain price point. I'll tell them, okay, we'll start there. But I'm gonna tell you, you're saying you want to be at 250, but we're probably gonna end up at 3. Yeah. And in this market, with it being inflated, I say go either way. Either find you a home that you can be okay with for a couple of years because the market's inflated, or go ahead and buy I don't like using the word, the forever home, because if our market continues to raise 10 to 12% in price value each year, then a home that's $300,000 will not be $300,000 in 2 years from now. So you got to make the choice. Either you're going to be okay and stick with a home that is not the top of the market for now and see what the market's doing in a few years, or go ahead and go for the home that you can still afford, that might be kind of pushing it for you, not going house broke. Yeah. But that might be kind of pushing it for you because you may not ever be able to afford a house like this anytime soon again.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you have given so much information in just this 30-minute segment. So I know you mentioned at the beginning that you said you do offer like a free class or a course. How can people find out about that? Do they just contact you directly, or is it something, is it a class they sign up for? How can they find out about it?
Yes, we don't have a lot of time, but I always tell people I learned so much that I know because of my own home buying experience, which was horrible. And if you ever want to have me on again, I'll tell you the story. But basically, I developed this free class to make everything as easy as possible for buyers in the beginning. So I also try to make contacting me, conversing with me, getting the education you need, information and direction you need as easy as possible as well. So you can text me, you can call me, you can DM me, and I'll give you my information so that you can share. But basically, the process is we talk for a few minutes, 5-10 minutes. Let me see where you're at. I introduce the fact that I have a free class to you. You just simply sign up for the class with my free, no obligation form. It's just for me to see where you're at with things. I will email you the class, which is a pre-recorded video. It has resources in there for my preferred lenders, which you don't have to use my lenders, but I highly recommend them because I've done a lot of the legwork for you, and I've had buyers come to me with lenders that were trash. Yeah. I also give you credit resources, and in that same packet, I'll give you other resources that will make the home buying journey easy for you. So basically, contact me, sign up for the class, get this information in order for you to get started.
And if you guys are listening right now, all of that information is either going to be down below if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, or you can go to unmuteyourmic.org, and there you can go to the show notes. All of the information that she said was going to be there. Please, please, please reach out to her, not me, to her. She's the professional. She knows all about this. And I just thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And we're definitely going to have to do a part 2 because I feel like 30 minutes just kind of scratched the surface. But I think you covered some really important things just to make it so that it's not so daunting and that we're not carrying these age-old traditions of what we think this process is going to look like, and also kind of breaking some of the barriers off so that it doesn't feel like you can't be single or you can't be young or you can't be whatever fill in the blank is, that really anybody can purchase, and if they are doing it with the right person who kind of is educating them and showing them along the way. So I thank you so much again.
Thank you. And if I could say one more thing, I know we're over on our time. Please get into real estate in some capacity. Like, please start investing. He who owns the land controls it. Owning real estate, it changes things for you in general. It changes your mindset. It changes your effects on other people. But also, don't be intimidated to think that you have to buy. You need to buy when buying makes sense. So sometimes you can own and buy, and you may need to sell. Don't go house broke. If you need to let a home go, let it go for now. Don't go into foreclosure. But also don't do it because everyone else is doing it if at this time it doesn't work for you. Like I said, it's a tool. We don't always need to be using a pencil. Sometimes we need to use a pen or whatever. So look at it that way. Look at real estate as a tool versus a stage in life.
I love that. That is so good. I'm about to talk to you.
Yes, please.
But I thank you.
Thank you
so much. I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. Like I said, please go to unmuteyourmic.org and go to the show notes for today's episode. There will be more information about Sharidan as well as some of the resources that she has listed in this conversation that we have had. Thank you so much, Sharidan, for what you do, for educating the community, for doing it for free, but for also taking your time to show other people people the importance, and also showing us there are multiple ways that we can do this, that it's not just one way to get it done.
Exactly.
So I thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, and everything that you do for Kansas City, and beyond. I know this is going to be much bigger than just here. So I thank you again. I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. Don't forget to be bold, be heard, and continue to unmute your mic. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Unmute Your Mic. Be sure to tune in next time when Jessica takes her mic off mute as she continues her journey to find stories that inspire and uplift our communities.